Howdy my always totally tubular gamers, and we're back for another ranking video, and today's is going to be on a fun series. It's going to be on the Donkey Kong Country series of video games. The critically acclaimed series that really put Donkey Kong back on the map is one of Nintendo's flagship characters and is just a great series of games all around. Now, obviously, we all know Donkey Kong. He's one of the most iconic video game characters, period. But you see, there was a time where Nintendo just pretty much dropped Donkey Kong completely. See, after Donkey Kong Jr. Math, that wonderful game released in '83, there was not another Donkey Kong game for 11 years, and it was Donkey Kong Country. Developed by Rareware and put out on the Super Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country really blew the lid off in terms of its graphics, its gameplay, and really brought Donkey Kong back as one of the most established video game characters, period. And since then, we've obviously gotten tons and tons of Donkey Kong games. But we aren't looking at every Donkey Kong game today. No, that's a list for another day. Today, we are just looking at the Donkey Kong Country series of games. Now, the Donkey Kong Country series of games is pretty clear. It's got the word Donkey Kong Country in it, plus Donkey Kong 64. There are 6 DK Country games. On the Super Nintendo, there was the 3 2D platformers, all by Rareware, then Donkey Kong 64 on the 64, and then many years later, there was DK Country Returns and Tropical Freeze by Retro Studios, also 2D platformers. These games are beloved for their level design, their characters, their graphics that were really great for the time, the amazing soundtracks, the difficulty, and how replayable it was with so much to collect. These games have gone on to be some of the most beloved, well-received games in history, like not only for 2D and 3D platformers, but just in general. And naturally, with such a beloved series of games, there's going to be a lot of different opinions here, so just let me know what your favorite DK Country game is down below, or what your list would be. This is just my personal list and how I would rank the games. I played the Donkey Kong Country games mostly when I was a kid. I played Returns and Tropical Freeze when they came out, but I did play all the other games when I was rather young, but I have since gone back and tried them again, only to remember that they really are very difficult games. I will also not be looking at the Donkey Kong Land series of games. That's kind of a side spin-off series that is very similar to Country, but not Country. Like, share, sub, all that good stuff. Let's get to it. What do I think is the weakest of the series? I personally think the weakest is Donkey Kong Country 3. Now, I've always personally thought that this is the odd game out in the Super Nintendo trilogy, and I just think it really is nowhere near as good as the first 2 games, but it still is a good game. The game is about Dixie Kong and her cousin Kiddy Kong, who has never come back, by the way, and it's about them rescuing Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong from King K. Rool, and takes place in the Northern Hemisphere, which is essentially Northern Europe and Canada of all places. The gameplay is very similar to DKC 1 and 2, however Diddy Kong's not even here at all. So Dixie Kong's the main Kong, and she can still fly with her hair, and then we have Kiddy Kong who can roll and use strength. That's about it. Now, while I think the gameplay is solid enough, and there's nothing like seriously wrong with the gameplay, I just think it is nowhere near as good as the other games. The other games really set a really high bar, and I just don't think it lives up to it. I think the world map is pretty cool. You move around on the boat, I like that, but the actual levels themselves, I think, are very forgettable. None of them are really all that memorable, and I don't think the themes are anywhere near as good as the first 2 games. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some good levels here. I love the levels with, like, the waterfall, but I think they're few and far between. Most of them just do not stand out, and I don't really remember most of them, to be honest with you. At least the controls are still pretty good. They're rarely similar to, like, how they were before, so that's good. I will say my biggest issue with this game, my absolute biggest issue, is the music. I don't think the music is very good in this game at all. I just don't think it's good, and I don't like it, and I'm really sad that I don't think it's good. Every other game on this list has a great soundtrack. The graphics are pretty good too. I don't think it's as good as the first 2 games, but it is pretty good. Oh yeah, the Animal Buddy / transformations in this game blow. And I'm going to reiterate again, I think this is a good game. It's just I don't think it holds up compared to the other games on this list. It still has good elements, it still has some good gimmicks thrown in here and there, but it's just my least favorite of the DKC games. And if somebody really loved it, I could see why, but for me personally, nah. I also really dislike Kiddy Kong. Any game with Kiddy Kong can just get the hell out of here. The next game on our list is Donkey Kong 64, released for the Nintendo 64. While it doesn't have country in the name, it still very much is a Donkey Kong Country game and was still developed by Rareware. Surprisingly, or not that surprisingly, this is Donkey Kong's only 3D game. He's never had another 3D game after this, strictly 2D. Now, Donkey Kong 64 over the years has actually gotten a fair amount of criticism and is nowhere near as liked as much as it was when it initially came out, or even in the last 10 years. And it's really gained a reputation for being just out of control with its collectibles, the most collectibles in like any video game, and just being rather bloated. And you know, I really do agree to an extent. The game is about DK going after King K. Rool, who has kidnapped all of his friends and is trying to destroy Kong Island, and DK's not going to have that. The game feels very similar to other Rareware Nintendo 64 games, specifically Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie. However, this game just takes the collectibles from those and cranks it up quite a bit. Now, despite being a 3D platformer, most of the game is collecting. This game is a full-on collectathon. You collect so much shit. There has never been a game where you collect as much as you do in Donkey Kong 64. We could be here all day if we went over how much you collect in this game. And you know, I love collecting stuff in games. Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie are some of my favorite games of all time, but this game just goes a bit out of control, and there's a few parts to it that make it really tedious and, again, rather bloated. The worst offender has to be the colored bananas, where you have to be a certain Kong to get the bananas, meaning that if you're not the right Kong, you have to go all the way back to a character switching pad and then be that Kong to get them. If you could just change Kongs on the fly, this whole game would not feel anywhere near as bloated and would not go on as long as it does. Collecting everything in these levels takes way too long, and it feels like you're doing it for just an eternity. There's just way too much. It just never ends. It's endless checklists to get to the end of the game. And it's a shame because I actually really do enjoy these levels. I think the levels are really well designed. It's some of Rare's best. And it is actually pretty fun as long as you just collect what you absolutely need to, and that's it. Don't even think about going after that optional stuff. And then when the mini games come into play, oh, these mini games can fuck right off. As a kid, I hated these mini games. They're so hard and frustrating, and a lot of them control like crap. Oh, these mini games bring my piss to a boil. But to go back to things I liked how each Kong has different abilities. They all feel very different from each other. It is very cool to control so many different characters in a 3D platformer. I really like how each Kong has their own standout sections. I really do like the bosses in this game, as easy as they are. And the music, the music is so good in this game. It is legendary. Again, over the years, I know the game's become a bit of a mixed bag, but I still think that it's worth trying for anybody who likes 3D platformers or Donkey Kong in general, because I think everybody's going to have a different opinion on this one. I still like it, but I do see the game's flaws. But there's no Kiddy Kong, so that's a big plus. Our next game is Donkey Kong Country Returns, released for the Wii in 2010 by Retro Studios. Returns is obviously a return to form for the Donkey Kong Country series. The series went back to its roots, having you play as Donkey Kong and Diddy in a 2D platformer, and sees them going up against these new enemies known as the Tikis. The Tikis really just replaced the Kremlins, and I'll be honest, don't really like these guys. They feel very generic and have nowhere near as much charm as the Kremlins do, and King K. Rool is just one of the best antagonists in video games, so for him to be gone, that's a bummer. Okay, all that aside, the game is absolutely a return to form to the Donkey Kong Country series of games, and it feels like it really picks up where DKC3 left off. The game really goes back to DK's roots. It sees him and Diddy Kong just going left to right, going through forests, swinging on vines, getting in minecarts, collecting the Kong letters. There's now puzzle pieces to collect, and it really just feels great. The controls are great. I love Donkey Kong's handling. There are some new gameplay elements thrown in there, like where you can only see the characters' silhouettes. I really love games that do this. This looks awesome. There's a lot of interacting with the foreground where you go back and forth between them, which is also really cool. The multiplayer that was in the original games returns. It's still pretty fun to play. I have really good memories playing this back in the day with my friend. And I think that these levels are just really well designed. There's a lot of really memorable ones here, and I think that it was just really a great 2D platformer for the time, and looking back, yeah, it's still really good, and it's one of DK's best games. The game looks great for the Wii. There's no frame rate issues, it handles great, the music is good, not as good as, say, some of these other games coming up, but still good. And I really don't have any major issues, or really any issues with this game, other than the fact that you have to shake the Wii remote so much. You have to shake it to make Donkey Kong roll, and I really don't like this. I wish it was just a button. On the 3DS version, it's just a button, but I didn't play the 3DS version. I played the Wii version where you're shaking it like a madman, and, you know, I didn't really like that. Minor issue aside, this is still a really good 2D platformer that I can recommend to anybody who has not played it. Our next game, number 3 on this list, is the original Donkey Kong Country. Now, the original Donkey Kong Country, I've already said what it did for Donkey Kong, but when it comes to platformers on Super Nintendo, there's not many, I think, that are better than Donkey Kong Country, and there's a lot of good ones on SNES. I have many fond and not so fond memories of Donkey Kong Country. The game is about Donkey Kong and his nephew Diddy, and they're just chilling when all of a sudden their banana horde gets stolen by King K. Rool. So they go after the Kremlins and kick some tail to get those bananas back. The game features 40 levels across many different regions and sees Donkey Kong going through all different types of obstacles, and this game is just great. A lot of these levels are just fantastic. Not only are they incredibly memorable, but they're just really iconic, especially the first couple levels. Like, they are very iconic to platformers. They're great. Now, one reason it's so great to play through this game and so much fun is the controls. I think the controls in DKC still are great even nowadays. Everything handles really well. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong handle a bit differently and have different attributes. Donkey Kong can throw stuff further. Diddy just walks with stuff right in front of him. Diddy Kong can jump higher. And I can appreciate that they have some differences. When it comes to these levels, I think one of the strongest aspects is the different types of unique mechanics that are thrown in here. There's obviously a lot of vine swinging, there's getting in barrels and getting shot out of them. This is very common. There's the minecart levels that are just from hell. And there's even some underwater levels. And I think these underwater levels are some of the better underwater levels in a 2D game. In addition to all of this, there's also DK's animal buddies that you can ride in certain levels, such as on Guard, the swordfish you can ride underwater, or Rambi, the powerful rhino that can charge into enemies, Espresso, the ostrich that allows the Kongs to jump high and glide, or Winky the frog that jumps super high. I love all the animal buddies. I think it leads to a very engaging time that is still really fun and very difficult, because Donkey Kong Country, this is a really difficult game. In fact, I would say this is one of the most difficult games on the SNES, if not just ever. Like, this game will kick your ass. You will die a lot. You are going to need to memorize a lot of these levels, especially the minecart levels. You know, there's a few fun ones in there, but most of these minecart levels are just straight from hell. They are so difficult. You will die. At least I did. And while the challenge is a little too much at the end of the game, in my opinion, I still think it is welcome for the most part, as there aren't too many 2D platformers that are challenging these days outside of like Celeste. But if we're being honest here, there's way too many levels with these barrels where it's just barrel to barrel to barrel. Like, geez, man, how many barrels are we getting shot out of? It's just ridiculous. Something that's ridiculous is the game's graphics and music. The graphics looked amazing for the time. This shit was unheard of. It looked great. And the music is just legendary. It's just beyond iconic. It is fantastic. It is great. There is nothing bad to say about it. It is great. And DKC as a whole is a great game. I still have nothing but love for it. And yeah, if you like platformers, absolutely must play. It is on the Switch now as well, so there you go. Alright, it was really hard, but for the number 2 spot, I have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, initially released for the Wii U in 2014 and the Switch in 2018. Again, developed by Retro Studios, Tropical Freeze looks at Returns and says, how do we build on this? How do we make this bigger and better? And you know, I think they absolutely did it to create arguably the best of the Donkey Kong games. It was very close for me. I would say that Tropical Freeze might be the best 2D platformer to come out in like the last decade. Like, it is a fantastic game that should not be missed by anyone who likes 2D platformers. But let's get into it. The game is about Donkey Kong and his family going across 5 different islands to save their home as they go against the villainous Snowmads, a group of invaders from the Northern Sea. Really just a bunch of aggressive Arctic animals, and these are much better than the Tikis. Not as good as the Kremlins still, but much better than the Tikis. They have some personality and some charm. Notice how I said Donkey Kong and his family, not just Diddy Kong. See, Dixie and for the first time ever, Cranky Kong joins you actually. They can jump on your back and help you out. Diddy Kong's still the jetpack, Dixie helps you fly and is just the best one. And Cranky is like DuckTales with a pogo stick basically. I really like the introduction of the other Kongs here, as it provides even more variety to the game and allows you to play different ways. The controls are very similar to the previous game and the game still handles really well, but there's no shaking here. You can just push a button for the roll, which is great. And these levels really just, again, look at Returns levels and how do we make them bigger and better. A lot of the obstacles from those games return, and they're a lot more challenging, a lot bigger, and a lot more fleshed out. And I think that the levels are arguably some of the best levels in any modern 2D platformer. I mean, a lot of these are just great. The minecart levels are still good. A lot of the platforming that you have to do is still tricky. And this game is a lot harder than Returns. Like, Returns was kind of easy, I won't lie, and it even had the stupid super guide, which this game also has, and the Switch version has funky mode. But this game is not messing around if you turn those off. It feels almost as hard as the Super Nintendo game, and I know that some critics were not a big fan of this, but I think that it is pretty in line with Donkey Kong Country to be challenging. I think these levels are engaging, they're challenging, and they're fun, and they feel incredibly rewarding, especially when you're getting all the collectibles like the puzzle pieces. Like, the game feels incredibly rewarding. The game looks great, it runs great, I never had any frame rate issues or anything like that. I was very impressed by the presentation, and the music, the music is really good in this game. It is like very close to the original two DKCs when it comes to music. If not just about there, like, it is fantastic. Fantastic music here. I really just have nothing but good things to say about Tropical Freeze because all of the levels are so memorable. They're all well designed. They're very replayable. You'll want to replay them because they're so much fun. There's so much to collect. This game is a bit longer than Returns, and again, you'll want to replay the game. It is so much fun. There's the really fun time attack mode. You'll want to get all the puzzle pieces. You'll want to get the secret levels. And you want to kick the crap out of those Arctic animals. If you like Donkey Kong, if you like 2D platformers, must play. This is an absolute must play, and I think that it is not worth missing at all. And there's no Kiddy Kong. Now, I believe Donkey Kong Country 2 really is the best Donkey Kong Country and the best Donkey Kong game. It was very close. It was very close for me between this and Tropical Freeze, and I went back and forth a number of times, and I can say both of them are fantastic, but I think Country 2 is just a little bit better and is maybe the best platformer on the Super Nintendo. The game is about Diddy Kong and his girlfriend Dixie Kong going to rescue Donkey Kong from King K. Rool, who is now a pirate. The whole game is really pirate themed, and I love the theming of this game. I think that the game's themes and levels and just aesthetic in general, it is fantastic, and it does not get better than this, especially in the Donkey Kong series. Now, the best part of Donkey Kong Country 2, the levels and the music. The levels in this game are just fantastic. They are unforgettable. There are so many good ones, like more than the other games, as if the other games didn't already have unforgettable levels. Like, so many iconic, good, challenging levels that you will not forget anytime soon. The sticker brush levels, riding the skull at the carnival, any of the lava levels, or any of the pirate ship levels, the many pirate ship levels, like, they are all fantastic. I freaking love these levels. They are expertly designed. They are some of Rareware's best, and you just really won't find a bad level in this game. There's a couple levels I'm not huge on, but there really is no bad level in this game. And this game also is very challenging. It is just about as hard as the first game. Maybe not as hard as the first game, but I might have also just gotten better since I played them pretty much back to back, and these games control incredibly similar, and I guess I just got more accustomed to it. Diddy Kong is pretty much the same, but Dixie Kong can fly with her hair, and this is super helpful, and you'll be doing this a lot. Dixie Kong's probably better than Diddy Kong. I can say that if you want to play some of the best levels in any 2D platformer, you play Donkey Kong Country 2. Like, no joke, it's really that good. And then the music, my other favorite part of this game, the music. The music is just... it's just one of my favorite soundtracks in any game. It's probably in my like top 10, top 20. It's seriously up there. I just love every track. I love all the remixes people have made of them. The reason they have is because it's so good. The music is just so freaking good. Some of it is so calming and relaxing, and others are really pumps you up and gets you excited. Like the soundtrack, I could go on and on and on about it because it's that good. The game looks great, the game plays great, the game handles great, it's got a nice challenge to it, it looks even better than the first game. Like, everybody has already talked up DKC2 hella, and I'm really just shouting into the void here saying, like, yeah, it really is that good. If you're looking for a fantastic game, regardless of who you are, a fantastic challenging game, I will add, this is just a must play. Like, it is a timeless classic that I think anybody can get behind and really enjoy. Oh yeah, and a side note, Animal Buddies, best in the series. They're all hella good. They're super fun to play. Love the spider. Super unique. And really just this whole game is super unique. I mean, DKC2 really has it all. It is one of the most complete 2D platformers of them all. It's replayable. It's got some fun collectibles, fantastic levels, excellent soundtrack, looks great, controls great, everything. Well, I'm just repeating myself because the game is just that good. And I think that everybody who's played through it can agree with me that it is a fantastic game and is arguably the best Donkey Kong game of them all. I think it's the best Donkey Kong game of them all. But what is your favorite Donkey Kong game? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you very much. Let's say bricks down below. That's our keyword, you know. I'll really appreciate it if you say that. Hope everyone has a great night, great evening, great day, whatever it is. And that's the end of this video. Like, share, sub. See everyone later. Bye-bye.